Thank you so much for joining us as author and spirit guide. Heidi McBratney shares a brief reading from her book, giving us an example of how a client she worked with was finally able to break free of past beliefs and barriers that were keeping him from finding inner peace and understanding the meaning of his life.
A number of years ago, a gentleman came to see me because he was highly dissatisfied with his life. For all intents and purposes, and according to the standards of the society he lived in, he would be considered a success. Unfortunately, his success did not offer him any peace or feeling that his life or life itself was significant. He decided that he just needed to create a whole different life. What this meant for him was to leave the life that he had behind and start fresh. He was going to move to a different country, take on a different name, and change his career path, which was in effect changing all of the outer elements. I suggested to him that this was not likely his answer, but rather the journey would be to find himself within himself. At the time, however, this idea did not seem to make much sense to him, and he strongly felt that all he needed was to change his outside circumstances. He could not see that anything was out of balance within. Accordingly, this man decided to complete our work together and embarked on his plan. Much to my surprise, I received a phone call several years later, some 5 to 7 years later, I believe. When I returned the call, he said his current name, but that I would remember him by the name he used several years prior when we had first met. He shared his story of moving countries and changing names. I found that he did indeed take on a totally different career that led to a totally different outside experience. It had been an interesting experiment, but he admitted to me that it had not brought him the peace and the ease that he was seeking. He stated that although he changed all his outside circumstances, he could not leave or change how he was interacting with his life. He realized it was time that he had to break free from what was holding him back and what was haunting him inside of himself, with the hopes that it would lead him to what he was still seeking, namely inner peace. This man had to break free from the confines of his beliefs, his perceptions of himself, and his worldview in order to find a new perception of himself and a new belief in the value of his life. Although he knew how to set up life, how to make success happen, and how to survive, he did not know how to live. Fortunately, upon his return, he was willing to break free of the confines of what he had known so as to step into the unknown, the unknowable. In essence, then, he had to become the explorer and discoverer of the call of his spirit, of what was truly living within the inside of him, that which he had been trying to find, but had ended up running from. I'm happy to share with you that this gentleman did find the path inward, making peace with the difficulties he had encountered in his life experiences, in his history, and most importantly, with himself. Once this occurred, life energy was restored, and he became deeply connected to his own light and spirit, and he finally allowed them to become his guides through his life. Some people may think that this man wasted those ensuing years trying to seek peace outside himself, but in truth, that was all part of the path he had to follow. That was the only way for him to truly recognize that the outward path was incorrect and come to the realization that it would only be through an inward path that he would be able to break free and find peace.
If you would like to learn how to take your own inward journey to find inner peace and understand your life purpose, please visit HeidiMcBratney.com or visit Amazon, where you can order her published book or audiobook, Answering the Call of Your Spirit. Enjoy the excitement as you begin to wake up and remember the light of your soul. Munai.